the idea that there's so much uncertainty going forward about how these tariffs are going to play out, that's what's really driving this plummet in the stock prices. And part of the reason for that is that I think it's still uncertain whether Trump plans to use this solely for the purpose of just reducing the trade deficits in certain countries, or if there's a bigger goal in mind, whether this is a negotiating chip to get some concessions out of certain countries, especially
Mm,
like China, for example.
mhm.
So there's still a question about what the end goal is here. Investors are worried that, especially like just looking at Japan, for example, how the tariffs will affect not just certain industries, but the economy as a whole. As you know, the effects on one industry will obviously trickle down to other industries, and then at the end of the day, that hits consumers, and that could lead to, consumption being cut back, and then that just is a very negative cycle for the entire economy. So I think that's where investors are seeing a lot of uncertainty, and then I think the best case would be that this is just the end, that this is a negotiating chip for negotiations, and that there's, for example, with the China case, that there is an opportunity now for Xi and Trump to sit down and really kind of, negotiate and iron things out. That doesn't seem to be the case at this point. China did announce retaliatory measures, and it does seem like we're back in the first Trump administration when there was a ratcheting of tensions on the trade front. The fact that, like I said, the US is hitting its allies pretty strong, is quite concerning, I think, beyond just the business to business and also economic relations. The idea that the US is willing to kind of, um, not sacrifice, but kind of take a hit for take a hit on their allies, I think is a very poor message to send to a region that traditionally does not go for one side or the other and likes to kind of see how things are going. Um, I think this doubling down on the message that basically that the US walks alone in a sense, is the wrong message, and that Southeast Asia and all these other countries that are also being hit are not going to see this in a very positive way. But there was a sense in Japan, in the government, that they would be able to get some sort of special preferential treatment. And I think that led to a delay in the response that could have been made. And ser that's clearly not happened. And now they're rushing to get a meeting with Trump, which I'm assuming every other country is also trying to do.
I think a lot of Asian investors predict this, but they do not know when and how much the fall of I think the effect of the tariff. So I think today you can see this Red Monday, I think everywhere. for Trump is very difficult because he strongly believe, and his team, his elected team, actually strongly believe this is the right direction to save not to save U.S., to make the U.S. great again. And then the crash will be increased, I think, unless there's some change, I think.